Hi, this is Ron Darling.
This is Skip Lockwood.
Hi, I'm Ron Swoboda of the 69 New York Mets, and you're listening to Mets Musings with Gary Mack.
Now it's time for some New York Mets baseball talk. Here's Gary Mack bringing you the latest news and analysis from Mets Nation and the world of baseball on another edition of Mets Musings.
Three, two, one. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mets Musings, and this is the frustrated edition. Yes, frustration is setting in all over Mets Nation. People are frustrated with this team. They're no fun to watch. And they just, I don't know. I'm so frustrated. I'm not the only one, no. Here is an email from our good friend Jeff Cohen of Baseball and Barbecue. Cursed. The Mets are cursed. Gary, this is so frustrating to watch. No lead is safe. I am writing this watching the third game of the Guardians series. Another terrible output by the team. Boring in Game 1. Gave a little fight in Game 2, now leading 3-zip in the third game when Quintana gives up a 3-run bomb to Jimenez. Mets scoring all their runs in this game via the home run. All solo shots. God forbid they hit those home runs with runners on base. Have you noticed that the Mets don't have the ability to hit in certain situations? Runner on third, less than 2 out, can't get that run in. How many times have they had the bases loaded with less than 2 out and can't score? Too many to count. Twice in 49 games have pitchers gone 8 innings. 11 times pitchers have pitched into the 6th inning. The rest are less than 6 innings. Pitching staff averages 5.1 innings and 89 pitches. And the control is bad. Hefner, can you teach them some control? And the times the Mets have gone into extra innings, times they could not score with the man on second base. What is that? Hey, Mendoza, ever hear of manufacturing a run, especially in extra innings, with a free runner? Hit behind the runner, bunt the runner to third, and when on defense in extras, how about walking the runner to set up a double play? I realize it depends upon who's up, but the Marlins, who cares who's up with the Marlins? Now let's talk about Alonso. Yes, he hit a home run solo today, but the last 2 weeks he looked so lackadaisical, just going through the motions. Message to Pete, you want a big contract in free agency? You will need to produce this year. The less we talk about Lindor, the better. How can he be hitting under 200? Doesn't seem possible. Social media says trade everyone. Why? How? Who wants these players? No one has any value at all. Well, thanks for letting me vent, but I will keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And as you can see there, everybody's frustrated. Other people are frustrated too. Thank you, Jeff, for the email. Sorry it was a little wobbly there, but I'm piecing together this show on the fly, and excuse the background here. Things are in a little bit of a shambles here at the house, so doing some work, but hopefully this will clear up in time, but just give me a few weeks. Anyway, everything he says is true. This team is very frustrating to watch. They're not entertaining at all. They look very lackadaisical, and you almost have to worry about. Tommy Pham said that the work ethic wasn't there, and Trevor May said something similar, and you half wonder, is it sour grapes that they got traded, or was there some truth behind it? And if you look at this team over the last few years, sometimes we're so close to it as fans, we don't want to look at it. But if you go back in retrospect, you see different things. I mean, for example, this team a couple of weeks ago, they were fighting like crazy. They weren't out of any game. You knew they'd try to come back. As soon as they hit the Atlanta series and the Philly series, back to back like that, and then Miami, by the time they got to Miami, and then they got Cleveland, who's a very good team leading their division, they just looked like they were mailing it in. There was no life. Yes, they beat Philly at the late in the game. They came back, but there's just that fight isn't there. And like he said with Alonso, he just looks like he's going through the motions. He looks like he's got warning track power. It's a lot of long fly balls, but nothing else. I mean, he's got 11 home runs, but he's hitting like what, 229, 230. I mean, this. I don't know. It was last year, he hit 219 or whatever it was. Was that what we're gonna see? I'm afraid it may be. I don't think you're going to see him hit 265, 270. Is he going to hit 40 homers? I'm not so sure. He may. But is he turning into Dave Kingman where, every swing is mighty and you either hit a home run or you strike out? And that's an exaggeration, of course, but it just seems that way. McNeil's not hitting. He won a batting title 2 years ago. He's nowhere near that now. Lindor, I don't know what Lindor is doing. And I just hope that it's not another case of Tim Andersonitis, who looks like, 30. They hit 30, and that's it. Their talent starts to slip. And, we've got Lindor for another $280 million, 278, whatever it is. He's not worth it right now. I mean, you could bring up Acuna. He could probably hit 194, if not more, at major league levels. So I don't know. The pitching doesn't go deep into games. They walk too many hitters. I don't know if it's time for a change with a pitching coach. I don't know anything else to say about any other coaches. I don't see what difference that would make. Perhaps the pitching coach may make a difference if you bring in somebody else and they've got different ideas and they look with fresh eyes and see something. But I don't know if that's the cure. I mean, I just don't know at this point. Doing a show like this, you try to follow the transactions, and this team makes so many transactions. There's guys coming and going. It's not even worth it anymore to write it down. It's a weekly show. If I write somebody's up, and by the time I get to do the show, they might be down and up again. Who knows? It's really a crazy, crazy season, and I don't see it getting any better. And I apologize to everybody that I truly thought that they could make the last wild card slot and win 84 games. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think. I just don't see the fight. I don't. They're lackadaisical. They fall behind. Their defense isn't that good. the pitchers can't hold a guy on base. This is basic baseball. This is not anything new. This is basic. And I know the time clock. I'm not even going to get into Diaz. In the first place, well, let's get into Diaz. He shouldn't even be closing the game. He should not even see the mound unless they're up by like 6 runs or so. We're down by 6 runs. He cannot be in a close game. They put him in a 4-run lead after he blew 2 saves, and he blew that game. So I'm not even sure you should put him in with any lead. Just keep him when you're losing badly, and then put him in, because he'll just make it worse. But it's so, as you can tell, I'm frustrated. Jeff Cohen is frustrated. Tons of Met fans out there are frustrated. And it's just that you don't see anything. You don't see a change. You don't see, I don't know. I'm beginning to believe this team may be cursed. No matter what they seem to do to try to bring in a winning attitude, they can't bring it in. I don't know what the answer is. I would start with the minor leagues. I would tear their whole system down, change their whole philosophy. First off, I'd go to the library and get a book, I don't know, either like a Connie Mack explains baseball or Babe Ruth. Get a book from 1930, 1925 on the basics of baseball. And I would teach from that. Now, the game changed since then. No, it's still the basic game. That's the problem. They want to throw in all this other crap. The basics of the game has never changed. And if they learn the basics, learn how to hit and run, learn how to bunt. I wouldn't let them swing away in a batting cage till they bunted. We will have bunting practice. Do they still have sliding pits in spring training or in a bullpen or something? They used to have sliding pits where you would train to slide. How many times, and I know I sound like a broken record, but how many times has somebody slid into home plate or second base and their lead foot is up in the air and they get tagged out? They would have been safe if their foot would have hit the base. But no, everything is this stupid, ridiculous pop-up slide. And to get a pop-up slide, you have to hit with your trailing leg. But the purpose of a slide is to get there before the tag. And so, if you're popping up, going into a pop-up slide where the back leg has to touch the base, it's no good because your other leg is up in the air somewhere. The old days, go watch something from the 40s. Go on YouTube. Type in like 1950 World Series. Or there's a great video. I don't know what year the World Series was. Jackie Robinson steals home with Yogi Berra, a famous play. Watch how he slides. There's another one. There's a picture somewhere of Joe DiMaggio making a slide into home plate, a hook slide, where he's around the catcher, but the leg is down and then scraping across home plate. This is what they have to go back to. Go back to the basics of the game, and maybe you'll steal a win or two. Forget the freaking analytics. Throw that crap out. All it's doing is confusing everybody, and I don't care how hard a guy hits a ball. Again, we've discussed this before. I don't care. If Alonso hits a ball 119 miles per hour to a second baseman on a line drive, it's an out. I don't care. I don't care if a guy hits a home run 331 feet and just makes it over the wall, or if he hits it 600 feet. It's still one run unless there's men on base. So please, the analytics, the guys can't throw the first time around. The old, and they're not that old even. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, these guys were going 270 innings. Look at Nolan Ryan's. Go to Baseball Reference. Call up Nolan Ryan. Look at his innings pitched every year. Look at Tom Seaver's innings pitched. And these guys had no arm problems because they knew how to pitch. They didn't throw it 100% all the time. They saved something. And when they needed it, they had it in the bank. Not like today's pitchers who can't even go 5 innings, can't even throw more than 100 pitches, and they're exhausted. Come on. Go out and run then every day like the old guys used to do. Go out and throw a football like the Atlanta Braves guys used to do. They were throwing every day. Something, a football on off days, a baseball. Just play catch every day. Just keep the arm limber and building up the strength. And this is an indictment on the whole baseball, not just the Mets, but this is a Mets show. We're Mets fans, and the Mets just don't have any basics. And I think it starts in the minor leagues. The minor leagues are doing a crummy job of preparing people for the majors. I just think they are. I don't see it. I saw it a while ago when Tom Gamboa was with Brooklyn. You'd see him out there, and he'd be talking to a runner, or a guy be out running, drills and stuff, and he'd say, "Come here now. If you got a guy on second or a guy on first, here's what you do." Blah blah blah. Constantly talking to these guys. I don't see that as much anymore, and I don't know why. But that's what I would do. I would get what it was the Sporting News back in the 60s put out a great little book. I wish I still had mine. I love that book. And it told you how to play each position. He gave you how to bunt, how to get a lead, how to cover first base, how to cover second base. These guys don't know any of this stuff. And the catches, I don't understand this. Everybody's down on one knee. You can't move if you're on one knee. You can't move. Get in a standing crouch. That's the way we used to do it. All right, let me get off my soapbox. Let's take a break, and I'll be back after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com. 'Cause 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 'Cause
And we're back. And so, they lost 3 out of 4. They lost to Philly, the Mets. They lost 2 out of 3 to lowly Miami and got swept by Cleveland. It hasn't been a good 10 days or so. And it's not getting better. They come home to face the San Francisco Giants. And then the Dodgers come into town. And then Arizona, and then they go to Washington for 3 games. So it's not good. It's just not. It's not a good schedule stretch for them. Let's see what they can do at home. Unfortunately, they're playing Saturday at home, which means they'll be wearing those ugly City Connect uniforms. And I've had some time to think about this and see more games with those City Connect uniforms. First off, I don't think they've won a game in them, so that's the first thing. Baseball players are superstitious. Do not wear them. You haven't won a game in them. And the more I see these things around baseball, the more hideous that they become to me, and the whole concept becomes hideous. I just think it's the dumbest idea. I think they're the ugliest uniforms. Even the Mets, right? The Mets got probably one of the, how can I say it, one of the nicer, if you will, of these stupid uniforms, right? But it's gray. It's dull. It's boring. What they should have had, and it doesn't where does it represent New York City? And why New York City? They play in Queens. All right, Queens is part of New York City. I know. All right. So so take the letters, take the numbers off the back, take the names off the back, and they should have did it in purple, and graffiti style. Wouldn't that represent New York more? And honestly, they could have had a hot dog cart. Wouldn't that represent NYC more? Or how about a homeless guy living in a tent on the street? Or a mugger? And where's the Empire State Building? Where's the Chrysler Building? If you're going to represent, then represent. Don't give me the Queensboro Bridge and subway stuff. And how can you give me subway stuff without any graffiti or crime? Mets catcher Francisco Alvarez is ramping things up in a big way as he works toward a return from a torn ligament in his left thumb, and boy, do they need him. Though Tomas Nido has done an adequate job. All right, I know the offense isn't there, but he's got the bulk of the play. He's played well defensively. Consider the circumstances, when he has pitchers that cannot hold a runner on, and it's all on his shoulders. Manager Carlos Mendoza said he's doing a lot more nowadays. He's already catching. Alvarez is swinging the bat, hitting off a tee, and hitting soft toss. I think he's scheduled to take BP with us when we get back home this weekend. So today he's probably taking it right now, hopefully. Progressing well. So, yeah, a lot of good reports on him. And he should be ready sometime in June. Keep in mind we're a week away from June. So that would fit in right. I think we'll see him probably the second week of June, maybe even sooner than that. And 2 days after not throwing his scheduled bullpen session for the Mets due to triceps tightness, Kodai Senga felt better and was back to throwing on Tuesday with a light catch, manager Carlos Mendoza said before Wednesday's game. As of right now, the injured ace of the pitching staff will throw his bullpen on Friday if he continues to feel good. Senga's last bullpen session came on Wednesday of last week, but it's certainly good news that a throwing program seems to be back on track. Meanwhile, Drew Smith took a step towards returning by throwing a bullpen session on Tuesday in Cleveland. So those guys are at least progressing, and hopefully we can use them badly to come back. And we'll see what happens when they get here. And now it's time to go down on the farm. Okay. After receiving a promotion to AAA earlier this week, the number 8 prospect on SNY's top 30 list, Blade Tidwell, made his highly anticipated debut with Syracuse on Thursday evening. The right-hander had some hiccups with his command, but otherwise fared relatively well against the Yankees' AAA affiliate, the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. While the second-round pick didn't quite put up the dominant number he's been delivering for the Rumble Ponies, he still fared relatively well in his debut on the next level. The adrenaline also appears to have been flowing as Tidwell's velocity was up a tick from his normal average of 95.7 on his fastball and topped out at 97.5 miles per hour. So Tidwell got promoted now to AAA. Jonah Tong is with Brooklyn and had a good outing. And speaking of Brooklyn, one of the hot prospects down there is a guy we didn't hear too much about. I think he was drafted in the 9th round, Nick LaRusso. He remains hot. He's hitting He hit 2 homers, I should say, last evening in a loss. He now has 6 on the season, and he's hitting .285 with 24 RBI going into tonight's game. So those two guys are playing well. Kevin Parada has continued to perform at Double-A. He is in a hot streak right now and had a couple of hits last night. And I think it was a doubleheader that Binghamton had. So he's progressing along well. Acuna is starting to hit at AAA. So these guys are starting to come along, and, who knows? Mike Vassell is struggling at AAA this year, so we could see Tidwell up here quicker than Vassell, perhaps, or Dom Hamill. But, we'll see how that all plays out. Christian Scott has been a bright spot in the Mets rotation. And so is Mark Vientos since he came up. He's been like some of the only offense that they had. So the minor leagues are starting to produce some good players, but there's still something lacking. They still need better training down there. All right, let's look at the standings. Syracuse is 29-18. They are 2 games back in second place in their division. And keep in mind, this is all first half. Binghamton is in first place, and they are 22-18. Brooklyn is 22-20, and they are 2 games back and in fourth place in their division. St. Lucie, unfortunately, is having a rough year. They're in last place, 10 games back, and their record is 14-28. And that's going to do it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. And you can also catch us on wherever you get your podcast, your audio podcast. We are there. And again, you can catch us on YouTube for the video podcast. So until the next time, frustrated as can be, keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And I'll see you next time on another edition of Mets Musings.